Dry Arabia, a Roosmere to start the series. You see some of our bands as well. Looks like Ottomans for both players. We also had Mongols and I think it was Malians on the other side. But let's get into this. Welcome to game number 1 of the EGC Finals group stage between 3D Anotand versus Wham 01. This is going to be a Roosmere between the blue and the red. Obviously, red Roos going to have a little bit of advantage when you're in this. Going to match up with your flag. But we're going to see as we get in to this excellent series, a lot on the line.
Yeah, Anotand, he has work to do in this set, Fitz. He needs a 3-0 victory to be able to keep himself alive in this tournament and move on to the playoffs. Wham just needs a single game win to survive. However, if Wham wins the whole set, he's also going to win the group, pushing Beastie to the second spot within his own respective group. Now, why this is important is because depending on your own positioning within your group, it essentially determines who you are fighting against in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
The winner of this group is going to match up with the second place of Group D, which has Vortex, Team Win B still in there. We actually don't know the exact outcome of that group. The final series of that group is about to happen after this one. But with the first place paying the second place paying the first place from the other group, you know, it's not just about, getting to the playoffs. It's also about who you are matching up against once you are there.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, you see these players opening up with the Roos. They are going for the deer. You've seen a lot of Roos today, and maybe you're coming back to AOE4, maybe you're just continuing to play. They've been one of the strongest civilizations in the meta for quite some time. Even through the past season, you still see them being quite a popular choice here in our latest season of Age of Empires 4. Out here killing the deer, they're getting bounty from this, getting gold, and of course, going to be increasing their gather rate as they are able to advance through the bounty tiers. And as we saw in our Roosmere earlier, one thing you have to pay close attention to is that wheelbarrow. The one who's able to get just a little bit more gold can get wheelbarrow and age up without ever having to mine any gold. And likewise, you can potentially deny that from your opponent. So we see in this case, but it's not like any of them have gone for it. So maybe a very different game from what we saw earlier.
Anotand has 155 in the bank, though, as he's aging up, so he could grab wheelbarrow very quickly. Wham only has 82 in the bank, so that's about a discrepancy of 70-ish bounty or so between the two. Anotand could pick up wheelbarrow if he wanted to, but I'm actually wondering if we are going to see him drop a stable and use that gold for an initial knight. I think that could be extremely valuable in this setup, especially if you anticipate your opponent playing 2 town centers. That knight allows you to essentially shut down that stone mining operation.
Yep, and we got Kremlin for both players. Gonna be coming down defensive spots. We've got, it looks like Anotand's is near the goal, not too far from his deer expansion. And then on the south side, Wham putting it in the front of his base, so right by the wood that, of course, will be buffing up his wood villagers, and on stone already. So you can pretty much guarantee that's going to be a second town center.
That's a very nice stone spawn for Wham. Essentially guarantees that by the time the knight arrives for Anotand, he is going to have most of the stone that he needs. It looks like we still had a couple of leftover wolves across the map. And Anotand is going to opt to just play wheelbarrow here, something that Wham isn't going to have access to, but Wham will have a considerable head start when it comes to placing that second town center.
We see Anotand also going for the stone, so this is pretty typical. The Roos, they go for the Kremlin, they go for 2 TC. I mean, in most games, it's pretty rare. In probably certain matchups, maybe you don't, but this is a pretty standard Roos opening you're going to see here. And I kind of wonder if we'll see some of these knights come out, as you mentioned here, as we get to the middle part of the game. But as we kind of wait till that unfolds, hope you guys are enjoying a day of Age of Empires 4 esports here on EGC TV. They host events like this all the time, so whether you are brand new to the channel or returning, you can support events just like this by subscribing or by visiting the Patreon. And that's how we're able to make these awesome events go. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty more fun stuff in 2024. Just wait till we have what, like 32 new civs or something. At this rate now, we expect what, 6 every year, right? That's what I heard.
I mean, just based on the sheer volume of civilizations that have been added with this patch, you can expect people to start banging the desk for Vikings and other civilizations like that. You know, they're like, oh, you just added 6 civilizations. How about Vikings? How about Spanish? And those are just some European civilizations. We haven't even started digging into, you know, maybe Aztecs, maybe Mayans. A lot of options out there.
Yep, absolutely. And now look at this right now. Wham is up 2 villagers versus Anotand. Like, what happened there? How does he? He's up 1 right now, I guess. It's just slightly ahead. So I don't know if he dropped a vill or ran out of food for a second or what.
Yeah, usually this comes down to stuff like either having to idle a town center so that you can drop that landmark a little quicker, and I think that may have happened. I think Anotand was a little quicker dropping his landmark, so maybe he had to idle his town center a little more, whereas Wham took his time and he didn't have to sacrifice half a villager to a villager's worth of production to get that town center going, or to get that feudal edge going.
Yep, and there you see it. There's that stable. Likely going to see some knights coming out here after we have the second town center. Looking at the position that Anotand's in, he's got a really nice spot there to wall if he wants to. He can add a wall right there, and it's going to secure a lot of resources, his food, his gold. Wham happened to be a little more aggressive, but it's going to secure, I guess, another food expansion, not to mention the boar. So that could be good in the long run. And I kind of expect to see both these players walling up on Dry Arabia. I see this quite frequently, them kind of taking care of their core of the map, and then they'll settle this out later.
You know, Wham is still without wheelbarrow here. He will eventually grab this, but that's definitely something that's decreasing his efficiency a little bit. He's actually prioritizing survival techniques now, having went on the hunt. But more importantly, he's now dropping double stables. He has seen some walls coming up here from Anotand, so he knows that he can't really aggress much here. But it also means that Anotand probably won't really contest the map. So if you're Wham here, I think you might be considering just taking a little map control with those knights, dropping 5 miles of walls on your side, like he's doing right now, and probably heading into Castle Age, trying to beat your opponent to Castle and start yoinking the relics.
Yep. And you see those walls. Anotand's able to spend a little bit less on his, at least here in the early stages. His next expansions will be a little more difficult, I think, as he tries to get the deer to the east and that boar to the south, if he decides to go for this. So
these walls are so early. Like, I'm just looking at what Wham is doing here, and this is not the conventional way of walling in a 1v1 game. It's just the usage of the fact that his opponent isn't moving out on the map at all, so he's just going to do big walls, secure a lot of resources, and set his position up very well for late game.
Walls of empires, baby. That's what we got going on here right now. Survival techniques completing right now. And we got scouts chasing each other around and just typical mirror shenanigans. Pretty much so far, a pretty close mirror other than the difference in their base building. We do have a barracks being dropped down on Anotand's side versus Wham's gone for the double stable approach. So it doesn't look like he's going to be going for any spearmen early on here, where we're going to maybe see some coming out of Anotand. Wham using his knight to brace up against Anotand as he gets through the wall just the last second. Oh, villager! Oh, the scout is going to tag him down, and we got our first villager death of the series.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if that barracks from Anotand is for men-at-arms, which sounds crazy, but he's going up to Castle Age, and he sees that we don't have many knights from the opposing player. If you want to leverage Castle Age quickly, and you're looking for a fairly inexpensive unit that's already at the Castle Age level, the men-at-arms are actually a decent way to play this. It's also a unit that survives a lot under town center fire. Of course, you could play knights as well, but those are a lot pricier, so I'm actually wondering if Anotand is going to mix in some men-at-arms. I don't think it's a great idea. I don't think he necessarily needs it, but it's definitely something that could be on the menu.
Yep, and we see knights chasing scouts around on the map right now. High trade house, there it is. Anotand gonna tuck that in right there next to the trees. Get plenty of gold out of there. 15 villagers building that, so he's gonna build that quite quickly indeed. And heading up to the Castle Age. Wham, on the other hand, is not aging up. He's training his army up, and that's gonna be the difference here. We'll see, is that early castle gonna pay off here? Yes, we got pings all over the map right now. Looks like Wham is going for that boar right now. Oh, picks up a villager.
Ooh, that's a nice find. That's a very, very nice find. That was a sneaky villager moving out of there. I love the move from Wham to take that boar. When you have map control, use it, and that's exactly what Wham is doing. He's being given a lot of map control here. So he's going to take the boar, and if he gets the Castle Age, he's going to have a decent head start collecting relics. I think that's a big issue that Anotand is facing right now. He has Castle Age, but the most important things that he would get with Castle Age, for instance relics, he simply won't have access to because he doesn't have map control.
You can see Anotand's on the berries here, which, I mean, ideally wants to be out on the deer or the boar when you're playing as the Roost, but since he's kind of gone for this castle approach, can't extend too far yet. You see Wham has got a lot of knights out there. Is he gonna be able to pick off a villager? It looks like Anotand's gonna be quick to the draw to defend those. And looks like knight upgrades coming in for Anotand right now, but not a lot of units on the field. And there we go. Wham have a high trade house. Ooh, right there between those two forests. That's going to be a lot of gold for him. Anotand once again defending against those raids.
Yeah, and look at Wham. He's catching up on the Castle Age timing. He is on the way up with the high trade house himself. Big difference is that he's got a bunch of knights roaming the map, so when he gets the Castle Age, he's gonna be able to take those relics for himself.
Yep. Wham right now positioning with those knights, going to actually decide to take those fights against the spearmen, and actually takes both of them out, able to micro his knights around. He takes a very, very good trade. A very nice micro there from Wham. And now we've got Wham also in the Castle Age.
Castle Age in here for Wham. Villager count is neck and neck between these two, and veterancy is not something that Wham has on those knights just yet. First Warrior Monk is out there, but this is exactly what Wham was looking for. He wants to contain Anotand inside his base, and he wants to make sure that Anotand cannot leverage his earlier Castle Age and convert that to relic control. So far, he has done that very well. He actually walled off 2 relics on his side of the map, so those are essentially guaranteed to him. But he has knights stationed around the remaining 3 relics, and this makes it extremely difficult for Anotand to pick up any of those.
Just knights running around everywhere right now. They're racing all over the map. We've got, looks like a little horticulture coming in for Anotand right now, as he gets ready, I guess, for farming or just to buff up those berries a little bit. Whoa, look at that, 170 gold per minute on that high trade house. And the relic race is off. Gremlins, isn't that what those are? The spearmen. Those are spears. I think those are gremlins in there. Yes, indeed they are. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore those and run around, see if he can get a little loop.
He might try to snipe the monk.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was gonna do. Here we go. There's spears flying everywhere. Oh, a nice Wololo from Anotand. He's able to buy himself the cover he needs. Now, Wham losing a few knights here to this engagement, so needs to be careful.
Yeah, now with all these spearmen out there, Anotand can start at least taking some of the relics for himself. He is out there for the first relic. Second one might be reasonable as well for him. Obviously for Wham, he doesn't need to worry about the 2 relics that he walled in. It's all about securing at least 1 out of the remaining 3 that's on essentially neutral ground. He's heading out to the one to the north, and this is a beautiful find for him. Ooh. He could pop a Vololo here potentially.
I thought the villager's
not gonna do that.
Turns around. Yeah, and this is what we talked about earlier, where Wham invested in those walls super early on. Anotand's in the spot now. Food has run out and under his town center. He tries to go for expansion. All of those villagers are idle. They don't get to start gathering that deer. That sets his economy back significantly and gives Wham a little bit of space as he comes in and actually gets a raid on the berries. 1, 2, almost gets a 3rd villager off there. A nice raid there for Wham.
Yeah, a lot of villagers are also heavily damaged here for Anotand. He has taken a beating on those hunters as well. And I think Wham is starting to realize that his opponent is struggling for food. The fact that you have villagers on berries and the fact that Anotand moved out to the far east for that second patch of hunt are both indicators that Anotand is struggling for food. And this is something that Wham is now exploiting more and more.
Okay, knights squaring off middle. We've got spearmen for Anotand. And Wham just continuing just to be very, very active. running around these Spears and Knights and still able to hit some raids, able to push villagers off deer and everything.
Crossbows are being mixed in by Wham, and that's not something that Anotand has seen yet. But Anotand, we gotta give him credit. Given the circumstances, he is going to have at least 2 relics for himself. Wham is going to have the majority, but given how confined Anotand was within his base for so long, I think 2 relics is something that he's gonna be more than happy with.
Okay, we've got Anotand right now trying to claim back that sacred site. Relics, you can see 3 on one side, 2 on the other, or at least almost 3. He's working on it at least. Anotand with a lone villager running out once again, but Wham is in position. He just keeps checking this. He knows that he wants to move out to this deer. Gonna get another villager kill. Those really add up. You see Wham currently up 80 villagers versus the 74 of Anotand.
We talk about this so often. In a mirror matchup, small differences make the mile. And even just a handful of villagers big is something that could easily snowball out of control. Especially when it keeps happening again and again. Another attempt from Wham to pick off some vills here.
He's got so many knights, he's even able to kill a lot of these spearmen. I see Wham has also added crossbows back at home. I'm not sure if we've really seen those crossbows engage yet. Now, crossbows not going to be the greatest versus spearmen, I will say. But look at this. Decides to take a fight for a spearman here. Was it worth it? I'm not sure. He did lose quite a few knights there. Not the greatest trade for Wham. But,
I feel like he could have been okay if he pulled back the injured knights. Because he can heal his own knights. Spearmen that fall will just never get back on the field. This could have worked for Wham. I think it was a little inefficient, but given that he has a convincing lead now, I think this is something that he can justify quite well. Especially now that he's unleashing the crossbows. I think in many ways he tried to test what Anotand has back at home, and he saw that Anotand doesn't have much back at home to defend with, so he can start playing a little bit more aggressive.
And looking at the gold right now, it almost was looking like Anotand was trying to macro for Imperial, but I think he maybe just was really aggressive gathering that gold. But Wham, with this sizable army here, 51 units out in the field, Anotand only with 30. And we see Anotand not really with the food to go up to the next stage, if that was what he was planning on. He's been really trying to secure that deer up to the northeast, but Wham has not let it go. But Knight's kind of caught out of position, actually loses a unit there to those blue forces. And I think Wham might decide to take this. He's got crossbows ready. And it looks like
Anotand has Boyar's Fortitude, something that Wham is missing. But that's because Wham has all these crossbows, and I think that's what Anotand has not known about just yet. This is a huge force of crossbows, and this is the first time that Anotand sees this. And this is very problematic for him. Has to start investing into horsemen, but this gives a massive window for Wham to punish these exposed villagers.
And we see some spring gold emplacements coming up for Anotand on some of these towers he's got in the middle of the map, the wooden fortresses. The Cav count starting to look pretty good for Anotand. Wham has been mostly invested in crossbows for his army now, and should have enough, even though they're horsemen, able to take those out with the crossbows. I feel like Wham's just going to push here at some point. Anotand is looking like he's trying to sneak up to the next stage. Both players with over 1,000 gold in the bank right now.
I think Wham is waiting for stone. He has 600 in the bank. Makes me feel like he wants to do one decisive push and drop a keep in the enemy face.
I think on that gold right in the middle, perhaps.
That's also an option. Though I feel like he would probably have taken a fight a little sooner given his army superiority if he only wanted a very defensive castle. But if he wants a game-deciding keep, then he's going to hold off his forces and wait for one decisive fight. A fight that's going to happen in a moment.
He's got 51 crossbows right now. That is a ton of crossbows. Knight going down there with that engagement. And it looks like Wham's going to be pushing across the middle section of the map. We're going to back off once again, but getting a little bit of land each time he does this. Picks off another villager. Now we can see 6 villager kills. We go for another one here. The horseman going to die, but get another villager. Just takes a vill here, a vill there, and look at that. Wham is up on villagers right now. Grabbing the sacred sites mid.
Yeah, Anotand is still piling up a lot of resources. Again, Imperial Age is an option for him, but so it is for Wham, who's very close to pop cap. And I think at this pace, Wham is actually going to beat Anotand to Imperial.
Yeah, it looks like it. Absolutely. Wham's about to drop that right now. Any second. There we go. He's got what he needs to age up. And the high armory is going to be the landmark of choice. Where is he building that?
It's all the way at the back, nicely tucked away. Impossible to stop for Anotand. Now, I'm just now realizing the location of those two major gold deposits on the map. One has been walled off by Wham, so the second keep going up takes away both major gold veins on the map from Anotand.
Mm-hmm. So we've got gold under control for Wham right now. Anotand going with pretty much an entirely melee army. It's going to be very hard dealing with all these crossbows. He may need to consider some siege of his own if he's going to really take a big engagement. Anton going to try to go for a raid here on the south side of the map. There we go. Wham reaching the Imperial Age. Let's see what upgrades he prioritizes. Looks like it's going to be melee damage, his crossbow upgrade, as well as his horseman upgrade right now.
If Anotand wants to make anything from this game, he needs to strike now. He needs to do so before the upgrades come in. But it's difficult because both players are pop capped. Even if Wham takes this fight with a Cost-Age army, he's going to be in an okay position.
15
but I think
villagers
this is just too late for Anotand.
Yeah, I thought he was going to take that out.
Caught off guard here, though.
Could perhaps get villager kills if he's able to take out that keep. But yes, the crossbow's kiting, doing a lot of damage. There's the villagers outside of the town, out of the keep. He's going to get some kills on those. If he takes the keep out, the keep is still alive. Did a very good job just repairing those. Trying to keep it alive. A lot of villagers go down, though. And just like that, Anotand is back on top at the villager count. But the military and the age is going to be the issue. We do see Anotand aging right now. 18 villagers. Horsemen actually are the counter unit for crossbows in general. But with that number of crossbows, he's been able to do quite a bit of damage. He sacrificed the spearmen behind, do a little more damage on those knights, but the crossbows remain.
Yeah, I think the elite status on those crossbows, as opposed to the cavalry on the opposing side still being Castle Age troops, is something that makes this a lot more favorable for crossbows than it should be. As you said, light cavalry, horsemen, is the counter to the crossbows, but you need good numbers of those, and that's not something that we have for Anotand. 166 population for him, 190 on the other side. That is just an overwhelming force from essentially anything from Anotand. It's just a raw numbers game at this point.
Okay, we see crossbows moving up. Wham's got his upgrades, and he is pushing Anotand just now, starting to get his upgrades. It's still going to be a few minutes to those come in. You see he's out there farming, not very far away here. Where's the mangonel? We need at least one mangonel here. You gotta keep these crossbows in check.
Nice little choke point here, provided by the berries here for Wham. In the previous engagement, half of Anotand's army was fighting the keep here, so you feel like if he commits everything, he could actually take a good engagement.
Ooh.
But once again, cracks are just showing everywhere at this point. Wham is getting so many villager picks on these exposed resources, and his position on the map is so powerful.
Yep, we've got roller shutter triggers coming in for Wham. He's anticipating to see a mangonel, though joke's on him. Anotand has not trained any mangonels. And I don't know, Wham might be able to just like put it down his throat here, just continuing to smack with crossbows.
He's slowly replacing lost crossbows with streltsy, and that's actually a pretty decent way of playing this. He does have a consistent ranged mass, which actually gets better and better as you lose the crossbows.
Okay, we've got Anotand pushing up. He's got streltsy behind, using spearmen and horsemen on the front line, which, I mean, crossbows aren't exactly the counter for spearmen and horsemen, but they'll do the job.
Yeah, I feel like these mass crossbows are now losing a lot of value here. I think that's what Wham is realizing as well. Just standing and fighting, no longer microing this. And this actually gives a unique momentum and opportunity for Anotand. Wham might have overcommitted to those crossbows at this point, because the army numbers are getting closer and closer. Anotand's population is not impressive by any means, but he's actually able to stop this keep in the middle here. He's actually picking up a lot of momentum off the back of these fights.
You really can't underestimate the value of like spearmen in fights like this. Like the fact that like all of those crossbows are putting one shot into a single spearman is massive value for Anotand. Like that spearman's cheap. He's able to just keep spamming out this trash army of horsemen and spearmen into the rather expensive army of these crossbows and Streltsy. But keep battle is going down right now. It looks like Wham's trying to finish this keep. It's just about done. I think he's going to get it, it looks like. Yeah, they're battling over the gold for right now. Wham doesn't even need to necessarily. He's got plenty of gold behind his walls, but for Anotand, this is kind of a necessity.
It is, and Anotand no longer has a standing army either. As much as he took a good fight, it was simply insufficient, and momentum is still in the favor of Wham right now. Wham just having a lot more of an opportunity to replenish his lost troops, or at least that seems to be the case, just based on the build-up. But I'm actually wondering if Anotand is bottlenecked on production. The resource income is neck and neck for these two players, so it's somewhat surprising that Anotand is struggling with army production a lot more than Wham does.
Anotand going to be dropping down and keep on the west side on some gold, but there is already
that should never
tower.
go up.
Yep. And he's just going to starve his opponent out. And this happens so many times in these pro games. You don't have to necessarily kill your opponent. You don't have to go into their base. Starve them out of those resources. Wait till they run out of gold, and then and only then maybe you make your push. Right now, Wham is just controlling this by controlling the resources out on the map.
Yeah, resource control is great here for Wham, and you gotta look back at Feudal Age, where Anotand had basically no map control. Wham was of one of the major gold piles, and that kind of forces Anotand to play around the other gold deposits, which are at a very exposed positions that Wham is controlling right now. And he replaced many of his crossbows with Streltsy now, so his army is even more so formidable compared to what it used to be.
Okay, Wham breaking through the walls. Anotand trying to go for a raid or something himself, but Wham has already got that walled off. He did that early on in the game. And here we go. Wham going to be running in once again to go for another raid on Anotand.
Yeah. Again, Anotand's military buildup is just way too slow here. Both sides have had massive casualties in the previous engagements, but Wham is back to 200 population, not so much for Anotand. This cannot continue like this for Anotand if he wants to have a shot at this game. That build-up just needs to be a lot more rapid. Even then, it's tough. He's facing 3 relics as opposed to his 2. He's facing 2 sacred sites as well. Now he's facing mangonels that are getting some wonderful shots on those infantry formations.
Yep, and now we see Wham pushing into the territory of Anotand. So needs to be careful there. Bombard's out in the field. Wham's got 2 of them. That keep not gonna last for very long if he's able to protect it. We could also perhaps see some of those late game Rus Rams. For right now though, Bombards, Mangonels, and Springolds, oh my. Anotand though with a lot of horsemen ready to push out. Is gonna be enough to take this fight. I'm not sure it will. There's so many Streltsy out there. Okay, he's trying to get a flank on those Mangonels. Might be able to pop one. I think those are upgraded. They're lasting quite a while right now. Down goes one Mangonel, might get the second. Anotand making an okay-ish fight, all things considered, but keep does go down.
It's not enough. It's just not enough there. He has a massive disadvantage in Streltsy numbers, and he has just been sending Spearmen against Streltsy. Not a good matchup for him, and you see, once again, he's not replenishing his troops quickly enough. I'm really feeling like he's lacking production here. He's got a lot of units in queue, but he's barely getting any of those troops on the field. I'm actually wondering how little or how small his military production is, because that seems to be the difference maker between the two players right now.
Wham's trying to run in on those farms. He's got a horseman here, horseman there. And look at the just population, unit population. 150-ish for Anotand. We've got 179 for Wham. And not to mention, economy just bulldozing ahead. He's got all of the gold controlled on this map. And now he's got Bombards pushing with an army to support as well.
This is looking very grim now for Anotand here. 55 army against 37. Biology coming in now for Anotand. He's trying to survive here off the back of light cavalry, essentially. He's out of gold. He only has essentially the passive trickle from the relics, maybe bits and pieces from elsewhere, but to be honest, at this point, he needs almost a miracle to happen. But if there is anything that can turn this game around, it's going to be cavalry raids. I don't think it's going to happen though, Fitz. I feel like the moment he leaves space with the cavalry, Vam is just going to march right in.
Yeah, I mean, he's already doing that right now. These bombards, he's protecting this. I mean, here we go. Here's a big push. This might be Anotand's last charge. Is going to be enough to kill his mangonels. He has a lot of horsemen. He's Streltsy behind his spearmen as well. Horsemen trying to go for a flank, but the Streltsy move into position. You see them take out the horsemen pretty quickly. See what happens here. Anotand continues to push forward, but he's got mangonels firing on that backline, and that's really going to sway this battle. And it was closer than it could have been there in the numbers, but Streltsy still survived. Lots of carnage, a lot of dead blue units. Wham! He continued to push his offensive.
And the mangonels, those are significant contributors to these fights here. And that's not something that we've seen from Anotand. We haven't seen a single mangonel, a single siege unit actually in this game from him. And I think that could have made it a lot more legitimate to hold this. He also lost the university as he was about to finish biology. He lost attack at like 95%.
Wow. With that, game number 1 decisively going in favor of Wham here in the EGC Finals group stage. But don't worry, there's plenty more chances for Anotand to get some points on the board. But it looks like Wham's Rus just a little bit more well-oiled here in this matchup.
Now, this is no pushover over Wham here. This guy took out Beastie 3-1 in the first round, or actually the second round of the group stage. He is standing at a 1-0 record right now when it comes to the sets. He could still go into the quarterfinals as the winner of the group that he is in, and also the player that's undefeated in his group when it comes to sets. So this is a tough matchup here for Anotand, of course. This one, Mirror as well, always a difficult one to challenge. But in here, you just look at those little differences, how the wars were made for Wham, how he was able to secure the majority of the relics, grab the majority of the sacred sites. Those are the small differences that eventually snowball in a mirror matchup like this.
Yep. Okay, so we get ready for game number 2, and it's going to be an Ayabid mirror. One of our brand new civilizations. This is the variant civ of the Abbasids, and they had quite a change earlier this week. They had a pretty much nerfs here, and there's several nerfs. I don't think there was anything that's really buffed with them. But thickets, this is a map with water in the middle. You've seen Ayabids be a popular pick on this map. A lot of times you see the fast age really come into play here. But when they're both Ayabids, yeah, I don't know how much advantage it's really going to be.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just hyped to see Thickets. It's a map that we haven't really seen a lot of in this tournament, but the games that we actually have seen were nothing short of spectacular. So I'm curious how this is going to go. Looks like game number 2 is ready to go. Wham with the 1-0 lead right now. If he wins this set, he is going to be the winner of his group, which means that Beastie would be the second place in his group. And that would mean that Wham would be facing the second place in Group D and Beastie, the first one. We're heading into game number 2 here. Wham versus Anotand here on Thickets.
Okay, and we've got a very, very early opening on the water. We've got both players going for that. Of course, the Ayabids as well as the Abbasid docks, they are cheaper. So the Japanese, they got the cheaper boats. The Abbasids and the Ayabids, they've got the cheaper docks. So it could be on the water very, very quickly here. We'll be watching to see what differences we might encounter. A lot of times you do see the fast age come into play here as far as one of the age-up options for the Ayabids. We'll see if they both go for that. We'll be to be determined. But for now, just going to be grabbing water. And here on Thickets, those are the deep sea fish, the deep water fish. So that's going to be one of the fastest gather rates in the game for food. So you just can't ignore those. It's so important because your economy is just going to boom forward when you go for that fish.
You know, when you look at this map, Thickets, it is very reminiscent to other water hybrid maps like Mediterranean, for instance. We've seen iterations of similar maps in previous tournaments. Well, one thing that sets this map apart is that middle island, which is causing a lot of weird game mechanics on water. One of those is the fact that you can kind of loop around and hit your enemy from behind. And the other thing is, that's not something that's going to be relevant in an Iobid mirror, is that you have a boar in the middle of the island, something that you can take if you really want to with a civilization that's actually able to take it. For this game, it's not going to be relevant given that the Iobids simply cannot take the boar.
Nope. Yeah, I think this is going to be decided on water rather quickly is what you expect, but sometimes you're surprised. Look at that, a forward House of Wisdom. So that's definitely one strategy right there for Wham. A little bit of a flex.
Now, that is not a thing I expected. It's so far out. It's actually... Oh, I like this, though. So here's the thing. That House of Wisdom will eventually connect the dock to the rest of the building. So, like, I think part of the concept here for Wham is that he wants to have the dock included in the aura of the House of Wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely quite a move. It will give it additional fire armor is one thing to consider. So that will help keep that thing alive, definitely. So that's definitely a next level play there for Wham. And we'll see those age-ups probably coming in here shortly. I don't think they show on the UI, so you actually do have to click on the buildings. Okay, so there you go. Advancing faster and cheaper. I assume the same thing on the other side. Yeah, so that's going to be advancement for both of these players. So going to be aging up. The cheapest age up, I think, in Age of Empires 4 here with the Iobids.
It's the cheapest, and it's also the one that's always going to be used on a hybrid map like this. You simply cannot be delayed to Feudal Age compared to your opponent. And right now, by both of them going for this advancement, neither of them will be able to secure a water advantage by the time the opponent gets to Feudal. If you choose something else here with the Iobids and your opponent just goes for the advancement, you'll be beaten to Feudal Age, and that means that your fishing eco will suffer.
Yep, lots of villagers on wood for both of these players right now. And when we get to the next stage, we have a little bit of a battle likely about to unfold here on the water. I wish we had the Iobid age up on the UI. I don't know, they add a new civ to the game and just forget about the age up. But it is what it is. I thought it was a clone of the Abbasid, so I don't know how this got messed up, but who knows. Okay, so we've got the dock right now under siege by the scout. Going to be doing everything it can just to doing a little bit of damage. Also to see what is coming out of this dock. So you can try to counter, you know, what the first trained unit is. Both players kind of do the same thing.
And for now, it's just a little harassment with the scout of Anotand. But he's going to open with a Bugla compared to the Thou that Wham has opened with. And Thou is the second ship that Wham is committing to as well. So that initial Bugla from Anotand is actually going to find a lot of value here, I feel.
Gets a shot on the scout, but the scout ultimately survives. But he sees that the Bugla is out here. So the counter of the sprinkled ship, that's going to be your demo ship. There's a little rock, paper, scissors on water. You got arrow ships beating demo ships beating sprinkled ships, and sprinkled ships beating arrow ships. Didn't used to be this case. But, yeah, it makes it a little even for a little back and forth. Oh, he tried
Scout
to...
goes down from Anotand.
Tried to dodge it. He got a little too fancy there.
That's a very bad position for Anotand, actually. Now he's completely oblivious of what's happening on land. So, especially as we get deeper into Feudal Age, Wham could actually exploit that, get some raiding parties going, and that could be a nasty surprise for Anotand to face.
The early backlog getting a lot of damage. No demo ships. It looks like Wham answered with his own backlog. And for now, going to back up. Both players in the same amount of villagers. But we got a second dock for Wham underway. I don't think Anotand has built a second dock yet from what I've seen.
Yeah, we are going to have to take a look
he does.
at
there it is.
Second dock. It's actually
it's just
producing
hiding
fishing
on the
boats,
mini-map.
though.
Yeah, it's hiding on the mini-map.
Blue dots on blue water, right? So it's a little tough to spot.
Yeah, sneaky, sneaky. Maybe that's the advantage. Pick blue on the water map.
Yeah, and pick green on a land map so they don't see you in the grass.
So on the snowy biome of this map, it's just ice, right? It's just there's no fishing. It's just solid ice in the middle.
You have to
Should be.
break the ice with manganose to get to the fish. That's how it works.
Ooh, I would love that. Okay, so we've got Wham right now, bringing the baklas and the arrow ships forward. See what he's able to hit. There's some fishing boats up for grabs. Gets a shot off on those, and he's able to sink one.
Yeah, for now, it's kind of back and forth on the water, and this is where you start looking at things that could change the pace of the game. What are you going to do to make this game a little bit more chaotic? Are you going to aggress on land? Are you going to double down on water? For the time being, it looks like Wham has the upper hand when it comes to Butler numbers, but that will soon be equalized by Anotand. The wheelbarrow is something that's just now coming in for Anotand, and as Vodka is highlighting, one big difference between the two players is that Wham has all the buildings channeled into the House of Wisdom, so he has the level 1 upgrade for the House of Wisdom, providing him 10% extra resources.
Yep, absolutely. So right now we've got Wham with the demo ship. Can he get something? Where's his arrow ships? Does he have any? Right now the backup, but there we go. They're just positioning. Okay, so Anotand with berries and chopping wood, they're both doing the exact same thing pretty much on land, but we'll see how this water composition pans out. It looks like, oh, Springald ships trading fire. No more spin the wind though. Those were the days, right? Those were the days.
Yeah, for now, it's just a fairly even count of ships on both sides, but in the long run, that extra 10% that Wham has could easily push him ahead. He picks off the Dow over here, means that there is not a single ship right now that Anotand has that can pick off the demos. He's actually hunting for a second Dow on the back line. If he finds that, the demo could actually do a lot of damage.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so Wham gonna be pulling back. As the water fight kind of continues to move on, it's been a little bit of a stalemate back and forth. A few boats going down. You can see destruction value. A little bit of difference, but nothing significant. Anotand having a third dock on the western front now.
And players are kind of playing positional warfare over here, and we're getting to the stage, as Wham is going to get a freebie on that demo potentially. We're getting to the stage where placements on the docks will become more and more valuable, as the players are constantly fighting near either their own docks or enemy docks.
Okay, so we've got Anotand right now moving the Springald ships up the middle. I think we've got robots again. Is it just Lidakor? Or is it me too?
And we are back. Hopefully we are back.
I don't know.
We are back, folks. So are the Buglas. It's like once again a big fight unfolding on the water. Two demos being held back by Wham though. He's once again sniping those ships on the back line, the Dows and the demos as well. And he's just waiting to pop these demos when Anotand has no counter ships to them. He's actually formation shuffling them against or in between those Buglas.
Yep, okay, so we got demo ships faking out, acting like they're gonna go in there. Oh, one's on like 1 HP at the top. Ooh, a demo comes out the dock, hits the reinforcing ships of Wham, pushing Anotand all the way back right now. Whew, a lot of dead boats. Destruction value right now, you can see Wham has 1,190 versus the 830 of Anotand.
Yeah, efficiency has definitely been on the side of Wham in the recent moments, and right now we're looking at 6 Buglas, 2 demos on both sides, but Anotand has no more in queue, and what's more important is that Wham also has 2 Dows out there, so he's slowly pulling ahead when it comes to the quality, and of course the composition of his navy as well.
Yeah, you can also look at the villager count there and see Wham in a pretty nice position. I think our microphones were trying to add some additional excitement here to this mirror today. They just
Wait a second.
Had to spice
Something is
something
odd,
up.
Fitz. Something is odd when you look at the villager count, and the chat might be onto something over here. There is a boar nearby, and I see
What?
9 eco killed by Wham.
Oh, what?
Now, here's the thing. I think some of that might have been fishing eco because Wham would not be credited for the eco kills if it was the boar. Or would he? But there's a 6 eco difference between the two players, and if Anotand still has his fishing eco, that has to be the boar.
There's no way. You're telling me that boar killed 9 villagers?
It was
I
right
don't
next to the
know.
wood line, man.
Maybe. That would be crazy. Maybe the robot distraction was to distract us from the boar kills.
Yeah, it's actually easy to check because if Anotand doesn't have fishing eco, then most of those eco kills have to be the fishing boats.
Okay, right now we've got... It was looking like Wham was going to go for the fight there around the island. Right now it's just a little ring around the rosy here. There we go. Demo ship coming forward. Boom! Gets a big hit. Gonna get another one? Oh, he gets another one! Big pickup there for Wham.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's
I'm
targeting
just
the
looking
dock.
at the bond here, Fitz. I think it must have been fishing eco. There's just not a single fishing boat for Anotand. So I'm thinking it wasn't really the boar, but demos are now coming in. Anotand looking to counterattack this.
Ooh. Gotta be a slick micro to avoid all those demo ships, but I think he did it. Wham! Didn't let a single one of those demo ships get through. Here's one more. It only takes 1 or 2. Can do a lot of damage. Here comes one. Gets within range, but misses just barely. This could be the deciding fight here. Oh, demo ship comes down the dock, but he taps out. It looks like Wham is going to be taking this one with a conquest of the water with the Ayabids, and that is going to be game number 2 of this group stage. Anotand going to be wanting to probably do something this next game if he has any hopes of staying alive here. This is going to be a fun game number 3. Hopefully not a mirror. We'll see what it is.
Small differences make the mile, right? And that has been the case for this specific game as well. You do have that extra 10% bonus that Wham was able to leverage, something that was missing for a long time for Anotand. And in a mirror matchup like this, that is a difference maker. And if you look at the overall resources gathered, that actually is going to show us exactly that.
Yep. And yeah, the House of Wisdom near the water. That was a neat, unique little opening there. Getting that golden age just a little bit faster. Not to mention just precise micro with those demo ships on the water. It takes a lot of skill and finesse. And thankfully, it looks like our game number 3, we are going to get a little variety. It's going to be Sushi's Legacy versus the Malians. Wham playing Sushi's Legacy, Anotand on the Malians on Hidden Valley once again. Boy, oh boy, I'm not sure who wins this matchup. This is going to be an interesting one.
All right, Sushi's Legacy, Shaolin monks reigning supreme, yoinking all the relics on a map that's notorious for gold denial, especially if the game goes long. But what's, I think, more relevant is that Anotand with the Malians here, I have no idea what he has on his mind, because this map, you start with one gold mine close to your base. The second one is going to be exposed no matter what. And I just feel like on this map, you cannot really do that very defensive cattle-based game that you can do on many other maps. You don't have a second pit mine to work with.
Yep. And on Hidden Valley, we've seen, before that wood in the middle, you can get pushed off of that. I mean, we talk about Malians, they've got those javelin, have quite considerable range, but I'm not sure that's going to really come into play here. The early stages of the game, I'm going to be kind of watching where are those gold spawning, because we saw in that previous match we had on this map earlier, we had the kind of being pushed off gold all on one side. It typically seems to favor one or the other. Also, not a ton of sheep. So on a map where the Malians said, we don't need sheep, we just eat gold and we turn it into cows, right? So
that's a good point, though. That is a very good point. Cows can definitely be something here for Anotand. We're jumping into game number 3. Match point for Wham 01 here. He wins this game, he's going to be the number 1 player within his group. advancing to the playoffs as the winner of Group C. On the other side, Anotand, 2-0 deficit right now. Let's see what he can do with the Malians here on Hidden Valley.
We saw that 3-0 sweep in that last series for the group stage. Will it happen here again? Wham trying to pull it off. Can he do it with Sushi's Legacy? Both of these civs getting a slight nerf, I think, in the patch the other day. We had the Malians getting their food income just slightly nerfed, as well as we had Sushi's Legacy. Monks had some crazy stats before. Those got dialed back a little bit. And there we go. Already starting up with that pit mine. Looks like he's got plenty of room. It almost was too close to that cliff. I was kind of wondering if that could possibly happen, but it looks like he's got plenty of space for those houses.
Yeah, that first pit mine should be nice, although it's obviously going to be on the front line, just like it is the case for most of the gold mine spawns on this map. The bigger question is the second pit mine location for Anotand. There's a small gold deposit to the far north that he can take, but it's in the middle of nowhere, hard to defend. Large gold deposits are both on the eastern side of the map, so I would expect a lot of fighting happening for this eastern portion of the map. A lot of major gold mines there. 3 relics as well spawning on that side. I think that's going to be the side of focus for both of these players, especially when you consider that even the boars have spawned on that side.
It's kind of interesting. Wham only has gold to like the northeast, while Anotand's got 1 more gold down there on the south side. Now, technically, you're supposed to draw the line like horizontally through this map. It's just very hard not to look at it like the top side and the bottom side. As you see, Anotand has ran across. Let's just show me the scouting pattern of Anotand. He's run across that entire portion of the map and not found a single scout or single sheep. There he is.
There we go.
1 sheep for a whole quarter of the map. Like, what is going on with this map? It just drives me freaking crazy. It's designed to have no sheep, but man, oh man, I don't know. I would love if they just sprinkled a little more sheep on this one.
Well, maybe the devs just didn't want it to be very, very campy and defensive. You do have a pack of Hunt after all, and that's something that Anotand can still use. He hasn't yet started doing this. But for the time being, it's going to be Meditation Gardens coming in for Wham. It's going to be on the berries, on the stone. Not the best ever, but on this map, it's actually pretty difficult to get a very valuable Meditation Garden placement.
Yep, and we see right now going to be aging up with that Manzakori. That's going to be some passive resource generation there for that one. And Anotand is doing some advanced herding here. Look at that. You would think this was AoE 3. He's pushing those deer all the way into the town center. So it's going to take some work. The deer actually, they like to run back to their original spot. They didn't used to, but it makes it this technique a little more challenging than it was in past. There we go. Looks like Anotand's going to be able to pull this off. In contrary to that match we had earlier where the English was killing the deer out on the outskirts.
That's actually a very nice deer push here by Anotand. We've got to give him credit for this. Nice and effective.
Man.
So Changnan Tower coming in immediately here for Wham, just to cancel it and replace it somewhere else. It might have been like 20% or so constructed, so he definitely lost some progress with that.
Okay, so got the deer pushed in on one side. Wham out here, is content to have the deer a little further from the town center so that you can supervise there with the mill. So this actually kind of works out for the Chinese or Sushi's Legacy. So it is what it is. I'm going to be going straight for that dynasty. So got his first one. Let's see if he goes for I'm assuming some barracks or something. I think if he was going for a fast castle, we wouldn't see that second landmark right away. But going for stone, that's going to be a 2 TC opening, so I don't think we're seeing any military here for a little bit.
No surprise, and look at the timing on this one. There is more to this build than just, 2 TC Chinese, which is something that's not uncommon. As the Jiangnan Tower is completed, you get the building discount for Wham. So by the time he is ready to build that second town center, he's going to have that discount. So his second TC is going to come in for a very, very small price, well, compared to what it would normally be. Drawback of this approach is that he's forfeiting all map control, and this means that Anotand is more than happy to take all these gold mines for himself.
Yep, good for the Malians. Not to mention, that's a large gold vein, so he's going to get a little more gold out of that pit mine than the smaller ones, with the way I'm taking a little more of an a passive approach at the moment. So no military out of these guys. And, you know, for Anotand, I bet his goal is to get his cow economy set up. So probably not the end of the world. We've got Sushi Legacy sitting back. That gives him room to get the thing going there with his Muvu. And there we go. Second town center. Gonna be there right in the middle, next to that tree line. Gonna be protecting the wood. And there you go. Got cows coming in for right now. So that's passive food generation for the Malians. Those cows, they cost gold. And you buy them at the mill. So he's able to get those. He's going to build that in a little bit of a semicircle. And then he'll build his landmark, the Grand Fulani Corral in the middle. And it boosts the food output for those. And that's a good looking pit mine right there if you're the Malians.
I feel like this is a tough matchup for any civilization against the Malians, to be honest. Problem with the Malians, when you're facing them at least, is that if you don't pressure them early, they will build up a juggernaut economy with the Munsa Quarry, multiple pit mines, Grand Fulani Corral, and the cattle. And then it's just extremely difficult to stop them in mid-late Castle Age when they can leverage this eco. Now, one thing that Wham could think about is taking this to a very late stage where he does have a juggernaut Chinese economy as well. And his farm transition is also cheaper as he does have the discount from Song Dynasty as well for Jushi. But I feel like he's probably giving a little too much breathing room here for Anotand, and Anotand is allowed to do whatever he wants right now.
Yep, and we see walls coming down for Anotand quite early, all the way across the map. And we've got movement out to the deer for right now for Wham. So it kind of knows there's no pressure. Although we do see, I see one Donzo right now on the map. So Anotand might start scouting some of this out. But likely probably wants to move up towards the next age with these cattle.
Yeah, Castle Age is going to be extremely important here for both of these players. Anotand, of course, that's where he really unlocks his power. Talk about the upgrades to the sofas, imported armor. That's where he's going to be able to really start leveraging the third pit mine as well. On the other side, of course, Wham wants to secure those relics with Shaolin monks, or essentially any kind of monks, but probably Shaolin monks here. So for both of these players, there is a lot of legitimacy in trying to rush Castle Age.
Yeah. Right now, you know, clearly both players setting up for the later stages of the game. We got walls on the other end. I usually try to open a little more aggressively against the Malians, but Wham probably feeling very confident in his late game here. Is going to be doing just fine with this. And we see some units kind of circling around the map right now for both players. We got a few Juganu, we've got some Spearmen, we got some Donzo, we got some Javelin. So just a little bit of skirmishes going on right now as they disrupt the building of these walls.
Yeah, a bit of a poking around here by Wham. He's actually starting to mix in a lot of Jugenu, but response is out there already. It's Javelin throwers, so the Jugenu should not be able to accomplish much. It's more about slowing down these walls and putting up some level of pressure on the opponent. But you just have the feeling that these Jugenu haven't really accomplished much just yet. And when you look at this army also pushing this gold mine here for Wham, Wham could be in trouble here.
We got Javelin within range of those Juganu. Spearman or Donzo running back from that. Just a little bit of a raid there. And some scrappy little feudal fights. You can see Wham up on villagers, of course, but that doesn't exactly reflect what we're seeing with the food per minute, thanks to the cattle. Javelins, you can see, trying to pick off some of those Juganu, and able to do so pretty easily. Takes a lot of micro. You got to really babysit those Javelins to use them effectively. You don't want to get too many of them and overkill on units. So I feel like they really shine in these stages of the game when there's just these little battles with like a few archers and a few Javelin.
Yeah, it's just small skirmishes, right? Both players trying to exploit a potentially undefeated or undefended opponent, but neither of them were really able to. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that Wham has his scout nearby. This left side,
Oh,
he sees this army moving out, so he might be prompted to make a move on the right. It looks like most of his Chukanu are to the left as well, so once again, it's just a dance back and forth happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly is able to not get caught out of position seeing that army, so that was helpful for him. Very nice use of this scout, by the way. Just outside the line of sight there, watching anything that's heading over to that western front where he doesn't have walls. Very smart there for Wham.
Yeah, Anotand is piling up resources for Castle Age now. And this composition, this is the death ball of the Malians. Javelin throwers plus Dunsos, extremely difficult to stop, especially when you have hundreds of these units out there. It's going to be Castle Age on the way for Anotand as well, but he might actually be given an opportunity to do his damage here before he even goes up to Castle.
I'm not sure Wham's macroing for Castle at all. Look right now. He's got 18 Sukunu right now. He's got a horseman. He's got some spearmen. He might be going for some kind of push. Here comes Anotand's army. Needs to be careful here. Wham's got quite a formidable size. Javelins, though. Able to pick off a villager.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if Wham is expecting a Castle Age here for Anotand, and he's trying to exploit that by counterattack. He's hiding his army right now away from Anotand. He's probably just luring him inside his base a little more. If he cleans this army up just before Anotand heads to Castle Age, that's a great position for Wham to be in.
Okay, Horseman taking this engagement before the rest of his army is in position. Zuganu, though, able to get some shots. As you see Javelin, though, being microed very effectively, picking off some archers as they're able to.
Critically, Anotand has his scout nearby. He knows the exact scale of his opponent's army, but looks like Wham is now committing to this one. He's sending in the Chuganu to try and pick off the Dunsus. Javelin thrower is doing a good job picking off the Chuganu, but raw numbers, they are starting to favor Wham here.
Does get a harder and harder to fight too in micro when you're trying to kite like this and get your spearman position, try to pick off individual units with javelin. Gets really difficult. And look at this, Wham's starting to kind of snowball forward. This horseman keep chasing, and if those Donzo turn around, they just get yeeted away by Juganu. There you go. There you see it. So Wham, very nice pulling those horsemen back. He did lose one there in that turnaround, but able to get some really nice trades here as he's chasing Anotand across the map.
Yeah, Anotand now wants to go to Castle, but this is the worst time to go into Castle, when you're on the back foot being chased back to your base. I think Anotand still has the army that he needs to fight this off, and he has this extremely important layer of walls right now, buying himself some precious moments. If Wham wants to make something out of this game, he needs to do so right now, though. He needs to exploit this weakness that Anotand has.
That wall is going to save the rest of that army there. Able to get some good horseman kills while this has been going on, by the way. Okay, here comes the Javelin's going to start taking shots from behind that wall, and you can see pick just about anything they want off. Anotand aging up. Grand Filani Corral. How many cows does he have? Holy mackerel, look at that. That's a lot of food income.
Yeah, that's a lot of food income, and this is where we're entering the danger zone with the Malians. Great gold economy, great and consistent food economy. That's where they can start leveraging that. It's going to be a gigantic switch into sofas here. 4 stables from Anotand having been dropped. Now, I think the issue for Wham is that he's not walled. Because this is definitely the strongest point for the Malians in this game. The next 5 to 10 minutes maximum is where the Malians thrive. And that's something that Wham needs to survive. Beyond that, he's going to be in an okay spot with the Chinese, very late game. But I feel like he needs a lot more walls to buy himself time to unlock the real late-game prowess of the Chinese.
Okay, so right now, look at that. Whoa, farms set up for Wham. Gonna be set up for his food economy as we see him going up with the Mount Lu Academy there on the northeast side of Sushi's base. And Anotand coming up to take down that wall, going to be going for a little bit of a push here with his newly upgraded army. Wham taking down the wall on the west side.
Army back. I'm sorry, Wham didn't send the horsemen back here. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too. He could have sent them back, but he's confident, or I guess he's confident, trying to hold with this Chukenu here. And the tower, of course, means that the horsemen could be there to raid, but this army doesn't feel very good against that many javelin throwers.
It's going to be destroying the spearmen quite quickly, though. Horsemen going in the other side.
Look at the raid, though.
Yeah, diving on the gold. So we got raids kind of on both sides of the map for now. And there we go. We've got the upgrades coming in there for the Zuganu. Horsemen idling the gold. That's going to be pretty massive at this stage of the game. He still has his passive gold, though, of course. Sofa, though, going to come in and get in this fun. And you can see able to tank several volleys of the Zuganu.
Wham is doing something very smart here, though. He pushed away the Donsos with the Chukunu because he just wants to make sure that the tower is kept alive. The tower does have a Spring Golden placement on it. As long as you don't have many torch units here for Anotand, that tower is a real danger. That's why Wham is just committing all the Chukunu against the Donsos. Now with the tower going down, those javelin throwers have no natural predator outside of those 2 horsemen, of course.
Villager's also going to be going down from inside there. He could build that right back if he chooses to. Okay.
Yes.
You can see the javelin tank so many of those shots here when this happens. But Palace Guard's starting to get out there, and they're going to be able to do some damage up against those javelins.
And behind this, Wham is still annoying with these cavalry troops in the enemy base. He's been harassing his opponent repeatedly, and it looks like he's going to hold this. He has an equal lead of 33. And when you look at the overall resource income, that's the remarkable thing here, I think. They are neck and neck. That's extremely difficult to accomplish against the Malians at this stage of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's got 2 towers there. Farming is, I feel like, just in a very dangerous position. He could have built that like slightly further back, but he's very confident there, I guess. And then is he getting any of those upgrades? We were just checking in on that Mount Academy. Didn't look like he was. Ooh, what is this? Sofa going in for raid, but low on HP should go down. There he goes, able to take out that Sofa. Villager does die, though.
Army numbers looking neck and neck, but the army quality is so much better for Anotand still. He's got 12 Sofas, something that he's held back for quite some time, and there is no direct response from Wham to the Sofas. He has 3 Spearmen and 7 Horsemen, nothing else.
There they are, the Javelin hitting from up above. This is what I mentioned before the game started. It could happen. Oh my, down goes the Villagers. The Javelin strike from above. And he's not even noticing it. Oh!
That's a painful loss, and that's where you can leverage that extra range that you're getting on your Javelin throwers. Combine it with some Sofa raids, and now Anotand is inflicting a lot of casualties on Wham's eco. 12 eco killed as opposed to 4, and unlike Anotand, Wham cannot really afford to lose eco here. He doesn't have that passive resource generation that the Malians do.
We got upgraded towers. Gonna garrison inside. Still just mass Suganu, 32 of them.
Nice choke point.
Oh yeah, really forcing a good choke there. This is working out nicely for him. Okay, so for right now, we've got Wham trying to just hold this with the Zuganus. Will it be enough? Javelin handing out a lot of damage, but here comes some horsemen, and they're going to be after the jabs. Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
I think Anotand may have overcommitted here. The horsemen have been held back by Wham, and he waited strategically until most of the Donsos were gone to show the horsemen, and now the javelins had to fall back. I think this was just masterfully executed by Wham. Took the fight in the choke point, but also held back the horsemen until most of the Donsos were gone.
Look at these beautiful farms getting really set up now. Right now, we've got Javelins retreating. It feels like the eco of Wham is going to start to take over here and get the later stages of this. Anotand spending all of his food. He's got plenty of gold in the bank. Sofa coming in, but they're just going to be going to their death, it looks like, for the most part.
Yeah, I think these have just been rallied to the other side, but the walls have been finished by Wham, so now they pathfind their way through the only opening that Wham has.
That is what must be going on here.
Yep, indeed. Walls are complete, so they just run through the only possible path.
Okay, so Wham, again, trying to pick up a 3-0 sweep in this series. This is it. Anotand needs a win in this, and right now, looking like Wham is quite set up nicely. Do you see a market here?
I think he's through the worst. The Malian eco is still a juggernaut, but when you look at the overall resource income, now Wham is ahead. This is where the Chinese start kicking in, this late costly early Imperial. I think the best window that Anotand had in this game, it's now gone.
Okay, so Anotand continuing to make javelins and Sofa, it looks like, to try to deal with this. I almost wonder if a mangonel could perhaps be the answer he's looking for as well. But yeah, we can see Springgold Towers. It's kind of popping up everywhere, stopping these Sofa from doing these run-bys or at least taking a lot of damage. Here comes another set of farms there with that granary. Granaries do stack, as you see, he kind of builds it in kind of this L-ish shape formation. Rather T,
nice
I don't
little
know.
farming eco here. It's not even little, I must say. It's like huge. It's almost 2k food per minute right now for Wham.
Yeah. Cows ain't got nothing on this. Okay, so continuing to try to pick up the relics right now. Both players, there we go. We got a mangonel in this. Let's see how this goes next fight. But we also have the horsemen and knight count starting to grow for Wham as well. Also has a nest of bees of his own.
Yeah, those nest of bees will be extremely valuable. I think the bigger thing is now raw numbers. Not just when it comes to the army numbers, but eco numbers as well. Means that Wham is going to be pop capped. Could allow him to get to Imperial in the next few minutes. Looks like Anotand wants to force a fight before that happens.
Yep, here we go. Wham pushing up. Nest of bees firing off. He dodges the first mangonel shot. He'll be kiting back, taking shots at those Donzo.
Javelin are picking up villagers from the hilltop though. Beautiful mangonel shot. Wham has to retreat over here. This could be the make or break fight of the game.
Nest of bees is trapped, is trying to kite back right now. 2 mangonels about to fire. That's an unarmored army. So those mangonels do a lot of damage. Anotand pushing up. Nest of bees firing on that back line. It's the Sofa right now on the front line that's doing so much damage. I think there's a raid on the gold at the top. I think they might be just killing a pit mine, perhaps. Nest of bees is still alive. That's what's going on there. Oh, Nest of bees does go down.
I don't see many crossbows for Wham. At least we didn't have a lot of crossbows up until now. Now he's got a few, but the nest of bees are gone. Army numbers still neck and neck here, though. Palace guards are making their way onto the playing field. It's mutual annihilation, it feels like, right now, but who does that favor?
Okay, villagers seeking shelter, but through the army, maybe not the best way to retreat. They're retreating the wrong way.
Wham has lost way too many vills here. He has lost 40 eco in this game. He cleaned up an army here, but the eco damage is substantial.
He survives, though. Still up on villagers, but don't forget about those cows. Okay, Wham taking a fight over here on the pit mine. Almost wondering if those horsemen would have been better served flanking the mangonels in that fight that just happened.
I feel like those horsemen could have been immensely valuable. We've seen Wham do this once before in this game, not using the horsemen to defend, but also to launch a counterattack and hope that his Chukunu hold out. In this specific fight, it probably would have been better to have the horsemen support.
I noticed that Wham is almost chopped through middle. I'm not sure if that's coming into his strategy at all, but something is happening right now.
Good question. It's not like he has a lot of safe wood to work with, so I'm actually wondering if that's part of his strategy, as you said. Is he trying to chop through the middle? I think right now he's playing for survival, though. He's taken a big beating on his eco, so once again, Malians supreme with their economy compared to Wham. And when it comes to the populations, it's a lot more even. Wham went down from almost 200 pop to 144.
Right now, we're seeing Wham just kind of sit back with his farming, pushing out a little bit with some raids here, but not able to really make any serious military gains. He has, it looks like, chopped through mid for the most part, but I'm not sure that's going to come into play. And here we go, starting to add some crossbows in with those Shuganu is going to certainly help deal with this Sofa. Also got some spearmen of his own. But Anotand really going for a runaround and has the perfect spot to target these farms.
I feel like a second layer of walls could have been valuable here for Wham. He cannot hold the first layer. That breach has been there for ages. But a second layer may have been helpful to prevent the Sofas from just running straight in.
Wham is gathering a lot of stone right now. I think this could be a keep drop somewhere near these farms, perhaps right by that golden farms. Would be nice. Spears chasing these Sofa. The Sofa are just going to run around and distract, while the main force for Anotand is coming up the middle right now, and he's got Springgolds and Mangonels. This could be a shot. If he can shut down this food eco, that would be massive. See Javelins continue to take shots into the middle of the map.
Yeah, he's using these sofas as a diversion right now, but bait not taken by Wham, and now Wham has Springles. It's 3 Springles for Anotand, but he only has 2 of them out here. On the other side, Wham has 3 of them, all of this on the playing field. He's just gonna focus down the Mangonel. He doesn't care about the enemy Springles, he's just focusing the Mangonels.
Okay, is he Wham moving up to engage? Can his Springles get in range? He does get a shot off. One of the Springles goes down. And he's got some SWs of his own. This could be a good fight for Wham. He needs to make sure that these units don't get through to his siege.
Yeah, I feel like he might be a little overzealous here, especially because that Stealth Forest hit the Mangonel. Still takes it out though with no more Springles for Anotand available. But maybe a little overzealous here. Now the front line is gone. Has to fight in melee now.
Yeah, definitely not a lot of, not enough front line here, but it looks like he's able to hold that. And Anotand drops out. It's going to be a 3-0 victory for Wham. What a heck of a series. A clean sweep. Congratulations to Wham on a well-fought series.